Edmonson, let's go around the table. Tyler? Andy? Everybody's good? Okay, this is fun. There won't be another one after this, okay? This is it, right?
This is it.
All right. Good luck to both teams. It's been very enjoyable. A perfect form of this phenomenon is exhibited by superconductors and is known as the Meissner effect. Bismuth and graphite strongly exhibit this phenomenon, which allows them to be leviated. Name this phenomenon in a material that causes it to expose external magnetic fields.
Geomagnetism?
Incorrect.
What did you
So say it again.
Geomagnetism?
Say it.
Geomagnetism?
Negative. It's diamagnetism, not geo. Dia. That gum in your mouth, it sounded like, yeah. A disaffected philosopher who feels perpetual sickness is at the heart of this man's first novel, Nausea. He adapted the Electra.
Sartre?
Correct. Bonus. Express your answer without negative exponents. Simplify the expression quantity 3x squared, close quantity. Correct.
3 y squared.
Stop the clock, please.
Stop the clock.
Stop the clock.
Okay, never mind. Go
Am I
ahead.
good? All right, I'll start from the beginning anyway, since there's no misunderstanding. Express your answer without negative exponent. Simplify the expression quantity 3x squared, close quantity, raised to the negative third power times 81xy squared.
Six.
Incorrect. Captain? It's 3 times y squared divided by x to the 5th power. Toss up. One character with this surname rebukes another as a saucy boy after a threat to disturb a party. Another character with this surname asks a third, "How stands your disposition to be married?" before describing the desires of the valiant Paris. That third character later proclaims a rose by another name would smell as sweet. What is this surname?
Montague.
Incorrect. What is the surname of the family that opposes the Montagues in Romeo and Juliet? Capulet is correct. Bonus. This office's less illustrious holders include William Rufus Devane King, who was sworn in while in Cuba and died a month later. Another not-so-shining example was Richard M. Johnson, who flaunted his long-term relationship with a slave by whom he had 2 children. What office has also been held by more able men such as Theodore Roosevelt and Thomas Jefferson?
Secretary of State.
Incorrect.
Vice President.
Correct.
Oh.
Among the eukaryotes, this replication method occurs with amoeba. It results in 2 genetically identical cells. The method of asexual reproduction in which binary fission is correct. Bonus. Express your answer as a fraction. Consider matrix A with first row 3, x and second row 4, 1. If the determinant of the matrix equals 8, calculate the value of x.
-2.
Incorrect, Captain.
Negative 5/4.
Is correct. Toss up. Founders of this group include Scott Garrett, Jim Jordan, John Fleming, Matt Salmon, Mick Mulvaney. Formed in January 2015, it promised to give, quote, a voice to countless Americans who feel that most Washington does not represent them. The members of what group are among the most conservative Republicans in the House of Representatives?
Party.
Incorrect.
Radical Republican.
Incorrect. It's Freedom Caucus. Toss up. In this novel, Marion hopes to marry John Willoughby, but ultimately becomes engaged to Colonel Brandon. Her sister, Eleanor,
Pride and Prejudice.
Incorrect. Her sister Eleanor accepts Edward Ferrers's proposal after Lucy Steele leaves him for Brother Robert. What is the story of the Dashwood sisters, written by Jane Austen? Correct. Bonus. One lecture about this philosophical school discussed a squirrel and a man who are always on opposite sides of a tree. Charles Sanders Peirce was an early proponent of the school, which was called a new name for some old ways of thinking by William James. What philosophical school founded in the U.S. valued ideas according to their usefulness?
I designate Mackenzie.
Pragmatism.
Correct. Toss up. An arithmetic sequence has a first term of 5 and a fifth term of 15. Calculate the value of the common difference for the sequence.
2.
Incorrect.
Three.
It's 5 halves. Circular examples of this phenomena can create an effect known as the airy disk, and two types are named for Fraunhofer and Fresnel. A pattern due to this effect lent credence to the theory of wave-particle duality of light in an experiment conducted by Thomas Young. Name this phenomenon in which light bends or spreads when it encounters an obstacle. Incorrect.
Diffraction.
Is correct. Bonus. In this story, Harry acknowledges that his gangrenous leg will kill him before a rescue plane from Nairobi arrives. He recalls his life as a failed writer and his loveless marriage to the wealthy Helen, who has accompanied him on this fatal safari. What is this story in which Harry dreams of the tidal mountain by Ernest Hemingway?
Rose of Kilimanjaro.
Correct. Toss-up. One precursor to these acts was the Johnson Act, which forbade U.S. citizens from lending money to countries that had not paid their war debts. Franklin D. Roosevelt persuaded Congress to amend the second to allow exports to France and Great Britain. What 1935 and 1936 acts forbade the sale of war materiel to the belligerents? Neutrality Acts. Toss-up. Robert Schumann used this time period for the title of a set of works that begins with Funeral Procession. John Field developed a piano genre named for it. A work by Manuel de Falla depicts it in the gardens of Spain, and Frédéric Chopin composed 21 works involving it. What time period is portrayed in a nocturne?
Nighttime.
Correct. Bonus. If the quadratic equation x squared plus 5x plus k equals 0 has only one real solution, calculate the value of k.
0.
Incorrect, Captain.
I designate Adam.
1.
It's 25 force. In this one test for this mechanism, DNA strands were labeled with isotopes of nitrogen before being centrifuged. The results were consistent with the mechanism in which one band of intermediate density
DNA replication.
is correct. Name the kind of verbal that appears in the following sentence. The panting dog chased the sprinting cat.
Gary.
Incorrect.
I designate Alex.
No response. Participle. Toss-up. Perhaps the best known of this type of territory in recent times was the Nagorno-Karabakh and the Azerbaijan. Great Britain has won Alcatraz on Cyprus, and the U.S. base at Guantanamo Bay is considered one. What word from the French for key refers to any territory enclosed within a foreign territory?
Protectorate.
Incorrect. Enclave. Toss-up. Stage name required. This actor helped Jimmy Stewart's character stand up to an outlaw in his role as Tom Denafon in The Man Who Shot Liberty Vance. He played Ringo Kid in Stagecoach and starred as a man who hunts for his niece Debbie after she's abducted by Comanches. Who played Ethan Edwards in The Searchers, one of his numerous westerns?
John Wayne.
Correct. Bonus. He fled Rome in 87 BC, returning 5 years later to help Sulla seize power. He used his status to accumulate vast wealth, joining an informal political coalition so he could pass laws to benefit his financial interests in Asia. What leader killed on an ill-advised campaign against Parthia in 54 BC was a member of the First Triumvirate?
Pompey.
Incorrect, Captain.
Crassus.
Correct. Toss-up. King Frederick II gave this astronomer an island in 1576 to build an observatory. Before the telescope had been invented, he had determined that the Correct. Toss-up. What three of these poems addresses Carl Solomon with the repeated line, "I'm with you in Rockland"? Part 2 references Moloch, a god who required immense sacrifice, while the first part opens with, "I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness." Get the title of this beat masterpiece by Allen Ginsberg. Correct. Toss up. The last Ottoman to hold this title was Abdulmajid II. Another holder, Abbasid, leader of the Mansur, founded Baghdad, while Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi claimed it. Correct. Bonus. The quantity y varies directly as x and y equals 15 when x equals 24. If y equals 25, calculate the value of x.
$34.
Incorrect.
12.
40.
Time out.
Time out.
Yeah, you gotta go. It's okay. Yeah, shit,
Okay, folks, you can test it. We need for you to speak louder because your coaches and your judges are both having a hard time hearing you correctly, okay? So speak up with some power. Okay, how much time left? 2:56, you ready? Toss up. Consider the graph of the function g of x equals natural log of quantity x minus 3, closed quantity, plus 4. Find the equation of the asymptote of the graph of the function of g.
G equals 4.
Incorrect.
G equals 3.
Judge.
No.
It's X equals 3.
G is Y.
Multiple answer required. These two consecutive layers of Earth's atmosphere are the coldest and the hottest layers each. What two layers are separated by the mesopause?
Inner and outer core.
Incorrect.
Mesosphere and troposphere?
Incorrect. It's mesosphere and thermosphere. Toss-up. Politically, this emperor was noted for his successes against the Deccan states. His forces conquered Balkh and Kandahar from the Persians, but could not hold on to them for long. Identify this Mughal emperor best remembered today for building the Taj Mahal.
Babur?
Incorrect.
Kublai Khan.
It was Shah Jahan.
Please.
Supporting characters in this absurdist play include the tragedians Gertrude and Polonius. The title men flip coins, hide in barrels, and question.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and Bell.
Correct. Bonus. This architect's greatest work was finished with the help of a crane, specially designed by Da Vinci. He created a nested design for a structure whose lower portion was created from stone, whose upper portion was built of brick, constructed above Santa Maria del Fiore. Name this Renaissance architect or the Florence Cathedral's dome.
Brunelleschi.
Correct. Toss up. Evaluate the expression log base 4 of 16 minus log base 5 of 125.
-1.
Correct. Bonus. Some animals of this kind may enter a state of torpor in cold weather. In order to compensate for the inability to generate a certain type of energy, they can often be found basking in the sun. What kind of
Ectothermic.
Say that again.
Ectothermic.
That is correct. That's halftime.
I was still listening when I saw that.
I didn't get to read all this. The dinosaurs from the ACT. What? I understand it.
I don't think Andrew needs to talk though. That was a joke. I'm sure.
They did declare that.
Great dinner.
What'd you make?
Okay, we got same personnel, right? Okay, let's continue to speak loudly, okay? And also, don't use hand gestures, okay? Even amongst yourselves, when you talk, you can't use your hands, you can't draw pictures, you have to use your voice when you do your bonuses, okay? All right, here we go. Toss up. Find all the solutions of the equation x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x equals 0. It's -1, 0, and 3 in any order. This art movement's early adherents include John de Beer, Rousseau Fiorentino, and Giorgio Vasari. It rebelled against the perfection of classicism by creating automatically impossible figures that display artistic. Correct. This element was discovered by André Louis Durian in pitch blende from which Curies had removed radium. It can be produced by the neutron irradiation of radium atoms. Identify this radioactive element that is the namesake of group of 15 5F elements with chemical symbol A-C.
Actinium?
Is correct. Toss up. This man wrote the poems The Garden and Upon Appleton House while working as a tutor. He served on John Milton Latin secretary and wrote an Horatian ode upon Cromwell's return from Ireland. Identify the metaphysical poet most remembered for his To His Coy Mistress.
Marvel?
Correct. This sociological idea claims that hard work and thrift as one's profession reflects one's eternal salvation. It was based on the Calvinist idea that is a believer's religious obligation to make good use of God-given resources. What idea propounded by Max Weber linked the success of capitalism to a certain specifically non-Catholic religious belief?
Predestination?
Incorrect, Captain.
Manifesto.
It was Protestant ethic. Toss-up. He joined the Bolshevik Party in 1906.
Lenin?
Incorrect. And became head of the Moscow Party Committee in the 1920s. Named Minister of Foreign Affairs in 1939, he lost all of his high party offices when he turned against Khrushchev in 1957. What Soviet politician gave his name to gasoline-filled bottles used as incendiary?
Molotov?
Correct. Multiple answer may be required. A triangle has sides with lengths of 4 units, 6 units, and 9 units. After a dilation, the length of the longest side of the image is 45 units. In units, calculate the lengths of the other 2 sides of the image.
20 and 30?
Correct. Toss up. This architectural element first appeared in Parma, Italy's Farnese Theater in 1618. It provided a sense of a spectacle, but later suspended a curtain that hid scene changes from the audience. Give word for a picture frame arch that separates a theater stage from its auditorium. Yeah, come back. It's procynthium. Eli, hold it a second. Just time out me.
Right, you should be on that.
Roger. That was number 34, by the way. round one. Now, I'm supposed to be on number 9. And here we
Actually,
go.
number 8.
8.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Here we go. This artist's mistress, Ruth Klingman, clashed with his widow, Lee Krasner, over the authenticity of his alleged last work, Red, Black, and Silver. He depicted a charging stampede in a mural and used common house paints to create his own best-known works such as Lavender Mist. Name the abstract.
Jackson Pollock.
Correct. Bonus. This formation of a cool molecular hydrogen and dust was first photographed by Hubble telescope in 1995. Evidence has been presented that this structure may have been destroyed by a supernova, but due to its distance from Earth, that destruction will not be visible for another 1,000 years. Name this section of the Eagle Nebula comprised of elephant trunk formations revisited by the Hubble telescope in January 2015.
Crab Nebula.
Incorrect.
Word cloud?
It is the Pillars of Creation. Toss-up. This mysterious figure is actually Berthelot, one of Morgan Le Fay's followers. On New Year's Day, he challenges King Arthur's court to behead him, but leaves.
Green Knight.
Correct. Bonus. Multiple answer required. These two rivals worked together to get a client acquitted in a sensational murder trial. Politically, however, one managed to keep the other from being elected president in 1800. On July 11, 1804, what two men met at Waukegan, New Jersey in a fateful duel?
I designate Alec. Noah.
Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton.
Correct. Toss-up. The 5-number summary of a data set is 4, 7, 9, 10, 14. Calculate the interquartile range of the data set.
10.
Incorrect. Okay.
3.
3 is correct. This painter used a circular arrangement of straight lines, T's, and crosses in his work Pier and Ocean. His depictions of New York include one in which yellow lines and red and blue squares suggest traffic and the rhythms of jazz. Name the Dutch de Schittel artist who painted Broadway Boogie Woogie.
I designate Mackenzie.
Mondrian.
Correct. This foreign phase refers to names like George Orwell, George Eliot, and Lewis Carroll.
Nom de Dieu.
Correct. This process is a result of the harvesting of palm oil, destroying the habitat of orangutans. The process increases the amount of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere because there are fewer organisms to use it. In what process that is harmful to the environment do loggers and farmers remove vegetative life from land?
Deforestation.
Correct. Toss-up. The decision in this case ruled that part of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act of 2002 was unconstitutional. President Barack Obama criticized the decision, saying it would open the floodgates for special interests to spend without limit on our elections. In what 2010 case did the Supreme Court that corporations and unions could use general funds to influence elections? It's Citizens Unlimited versus federal election. The degree measures of two adjacent angles in a parallelogram are represented by the expressions quantity 2x plus 5, close quantity, and quantity 3x plus 10, close quantity. Find the value of x.
-5.
Incorrect.
5.
33. Toss-up. While these were first observed by Johann Hitter in 1869 and named Eugen Goldstein in 1876, their constituent particles were not discovered until 1897. They were used in namesake devices to illuminate the original television sets. Name these beams of negatively charged particles. Correct. Bonus. This composer celebrated the beautiful night in Barcarolle with his opera, The Tales of Hoffmann. A farcical operetta he wrote features a duet in which Jupiter must buzz his part because he has become a fly, and includes an infernal gallop, best known as the music of the can-can. What Frenchman composed Orpheus in the Underwood?
I designate Alex. Offenbach.
Is correct.
Time out.
Time out.
We're almost there, we're almost there.
Round one, it's way too late. I didn't check. Is that good at the golf?
I thought I'd lost it there for them.
No, he's got mints. He has mints.
Everybody ready? Okay. This poem opens a sudden blow, the great wings beating still, above the staggering girl. It tells of Zeus who transforms himself into the title bird to father Clodooses. Incorrect. And Helen with the title woman. Identify this mythological poem by William Butler Yeats. It's Leda and the Swan. The diagonals of a rhombus have lengths of 8 units and 15 units.
60 units squared.
Correct. Bonus. The first chapter of this book states that its subject is best found in higher barbarian cultures such as the feudal Europe and feudal Japan. Subtitled An Economic Study of Institutions, it claims that business leaders want to make money and display their wealth. Identify this 1899 economic classic written by Thorstein Veblen.
Show of wealth.
Incorrect, Captain.
Conspicuous consumer.
It's the theory of the leisure class. This composer reworked the work of Tchaikovsky for his ballet The Fairy's Kiss. He gave a similar treatment to music attributed to Giovanni Pergoli. This ballet Pulcinella and combined a major triad in dominant seventh chord in a dance of the young girls from an earlier ballet. Name the composer of The Rite of Spring. Stravinsky is correct. Bonus. This scientist is credited with the naming of cosmic rays while president of Caltech. He worked 10 years to disprove Einstein's photoelectric effect, only to prove its validity and obtain a measurement of Planck's constant. What U.S. scientist received the Nobel Prize in Physics for his measurement of the elementary electronic charge using an oil drop experiment? Millikan is correct. This woman who sprang from a...
Can I stop just a minute?
Yes.
I did not hear Milliken. Did you say Milliken?
No.
That's what I thought. I did not hear Milliken.
My bad, I thought I heard Millikan. Did you say Milton? Milton.
So does that mean
No, you already said the answer, you can't give it.
I can't give it to you.
that, but don't they
Can't
get
give
a
it to
chance
you.
to get it?
So I need to ask another one. don't
Moderator error.
No, it's moderator.
Moderator error.
You can't correct it. Keep going.
It's his toss.
Okay. Toss-up. This woman who sprang from a furrow that King Jonica plowed wed the man who bent Sheba's bow. She proved her purity through an ordeal by fire and bore twins after her husband rescued her from demon. Correct. Chords AB and CD intersect at point P in the interior of the circle, and the lengths of the segments AP and PB are 8 units and 6 units respectively. In addition, the length of segment CP is 4 units. In units, calculate the length of segment PD.
10.
Incorrect. 12 units. Toss-up. One event leading up to this era of U.S. history was the pocket veto of the Wade-Davis bill. The era's presidential period lasted from 1865 to 1867. During the
Reconstruction.
is correct. Bonus. This earliest printmaking technique allowed Japanese artists to produce large quantities of inexpensive prints. Originally used for stamping designs onto playing cards, textiles, or fabrics, it was elevated to an art form by Northern European artists. Into what genre does Al-Bekdur's Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse fall?
Woodcutting.
Yes, correct. ADH and oxytocin are released from this so-called master gland's herring bodies. This gland is responsible.
Pituitary gland.
Correct. Bonus. This writer compares Satan to a devious insect in his poem, Upon a Spider Catching a Fly. God's determinations touching his elect highlights the deity's grace and redemption, while sacramental meditations preceded the Lord's Supper. Identify this congregational minister who also wrote the poem Huswifery.
Whitefield.
Incorrect.
That doesn't mean that.
Taylor.
Taylor is correct. Just east of Palm Springs, this national park was a national monument from 1936 to 1994. The park headquarters at 29 Palms, and the park is part of both Mojave and Colorado deserts. Identify this national park named for...
Painted Desert.
Incorrect. Identify this national park named for a plant with the scientific name Yucca grifolia.
Cactus Park.
It's Joshua Tree. The coordinates of the vertex of a parabola are -5, 1. And the equation of the...
1,5.
Not correct. The coordinates of the vertex... It was -5, 4.
he just guessed it. Running.